Thank you, Maura. Would you like to take a seat here, maybe? And I will invite Jose and Grace to join us back so that you can ask the questions that I'm sure you have prepared. So do we have questions in the room about any of those three projects, or more general? Everybody's getting tired, I think. But there's also been a lot of listening, a lot of information to take in since yesterday. But I'd like to raise with all three of you an aspect of things that we have already discussed with other panels, and it's the issue of the benefits of a transnational approach, because it has made a difference in all of the projects that we've heard about. So how has it made a difference in your projects, and how did it help you address gender roles? Who would like to start? Please.
Okay, thanks. So for us, a transnational project was, I think, the only way to do this kind of research, particularly in our case, because if we're studying policy, kind of a policy problematization approach, it's too easy to kind of pick on one country and say, oh, this is the problem here. But to kind of look at it across multiple countries in both the global north and south, and to see how it plays out in slightly different ways, but essentially in the same things in what it chooses to problematize and what it chooses to silence, the inequalities that are there was very prominent. So that was, I think, really important in terms of climate change as a global problem as well. But I think the other more personal aspect is the learning between us. That was really fantastic. We all came with certain skills and certain viewpoints, and we have us in the Stockholm Resilience Center that is a little bit about complexities and social-ecological relations, and then we have our Spanish colleagues who are feminist scholar activists, and then we have our Norwegian partners who are very much into policy and politics. So it was a really nice kind of a blend, and there was much discussion, much debate, but infinitely productive.
A good combination of talents.
Yes.
Jose.
Okay, so I do agree with my colleague, about the idea of learning from each other. That was very interesting and very enriching, learning from different countries and different methodologies. Also, in our case, social sciences and humanities, combining different perspectives was also very important. And also, in terms of topic, I think the transnational approach was essential because we came up with similarities but also differences in relation to both social constructions and cultural representations of aging men and masculinities. And so there were some topics which were cross-national, so to say, but some which were much more specific to each country. It had to do, for example, with access to healthcare, socioeconomic status, pension systems was crucial too, or the role, for example, that older people played in society, or how they were considered in society. And for example, senior homes, older people's homes, access to this, so this was very specific to each country, right? And also the age at which someone is considered to be old is different, interestingly, in different countries. Or that consideration, Israel was a very good, I think, an interesting addition to the European network because of questions of Judaism and Jewishness and so this kind of cultural and Palestinians too. So the idea of cultural diversity and different roles played by other people in different communities, I think that was very enriching, and it made us, to help us, to think beyond traditional boxes, you know what I mean?
Maura.
Thank you. Yes, I completely agree with both of you in terms of the richness that the transnational perspective give, not just, I think, for the findings, but as you said, Grace, also for us as individuals and researchers. And I think it's always good sort of to get our ideas challenged and expanded, because as academics we can stay quite insular and in quite closed boxes sometimes. I would agree that Israel was a fantastic addition to our project, and particularly when we think about women entrepreneurs and tech entrepreneurs and the military service. That was a great perspective. The other thing, I suppose, I think we have a tendency when we looked at this prior, when we looked at the Scandinavian countries, that we thought, particularly the likes of Ireland, that, if we had more childcare provision, there would be more women entrepreneurs. But that's just one, I suppose, one aspect of a much larger puzzle that we need to solve. So I think having this project, having the transnational perspective was such a fantastic opportunity in terms of the collaboration and expanding our findings, giving that richness, but also expanding ourselves as academics and researchers.
Thank you. I'm checking a question that we have received online. Okay, yeah, so it is for you, Maura. Somebody saying, I appreciated Maura's final point that entrepreneurship is not necessarily for everyone, also not for men, but especially for women with their traditional double burden. I would like her, so Maura, to expand on that and what kind of further study would be appropriate.
I suppose the first thing, it's that, we don't generalize, but I think it's more that, this is why I suppose entrepreneurship, there has been a tendency traditionally that we have looked at quantitative studies or it has looked at quantitative studies and has compared men and women. We look at it very much from a qualitative perspective and look at women's lived experience. So obviously it's very much up to the individual in terms of, the choices that they make. But I think it is important that there is a tendency to, particularly from policy, that from an economic and policy perspective, more entrepreneurs, great for the economy. But a lot of women that do decide to become entrepreneurs, they work longer hours, they have less security when it comes maybe to even pensions, they have less security for when it comes to maternity leave. So it's not the easy option, and sometimes for some women it's not the most attractive. The other thing that was quite interesting, and I know that person had mentioned about men's choices and men's careers as well, is that some of the women, obviously the women founders were saying, well, about the juggling of domestic responsibilities. But some of the men said too, we're apart from our families as well. We're working weekends and we're not getting to spend time with children as well. So the childcare issue is not just, for women solely. There's also, it's parenthood as opposed to just specifically saying about men or women.
Thank you. So it's time to wrap up really, but I really would like both Sarah and Jose to give me very, very quickly in just a couple of words, what actions you think should or could be implemented so that the results of your research actually result in transformative changes. It's difficult to do in just a couple of words, but...
Well, I'll try to be brief, but I think I think the results from our study try to highlight that we need to have more inclusive voices in policymaking, and it's not just the kind of solutions that we see, which is relating to climate change at least, is very much still like let's find a market-based solution to a problem, that perhaps has created the problem in the first place. So I think a dramatic shift in thinking about the problem and thinking about the types of solutions would necessarily require then the more diversity of voices in it. And it's not just, it includes women and men, of course, but it's also indigenous knowledge that has to be part of it. If we're talking about changing the trajectory to the climate disasters that we're heading towards, I was just reading in the Guardian article by an interview with Naomi Klein, the scholar activist, and she said, climate change may be killing us, but it is not only climate change, it is the inequalities that is killing us. So it is the inequalities that perhaps is perpetuated by climate change, and that is kind of what we need to tackle.
Thank you. Jose.
So if I have to be brief, I would say that probably three main ideas, three basic ideas. One, that men's lives are also gendered. I think this is very important to consider and to bring to light, because sometimes when we talk about gender studies, we're still focusing mostly or only on women, and I think it's important. Second idea that...
Jose, can you pick the other mic?
Oh, sorry, because it didn't seem to work. Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, that men's life are also gendered. Second idea, that aging is an opportunity for men and women to rethink themselves as men and women. It's a challenge, but also an opportunity. And we gathered that from interviews and so on and so forth. And third, perhaps, in terms of health, that, I had this motto implemented in Spain by the idea that to be macho kills. Right? Being a macho kills. No? The idea that if you stick to your ideas that men are self-sufficient, that they don't need to go to the doctor, that they don't need to get checked, that they are autonomous, independent, that it can actually, it's bad for others, but it's also bad for themselves.
Thank you very much. Well, three very interesting ideas to rebound off, maybe over the coffee break. So a 15 minutes coffee break, but really 15 minutes, okay? Grab a coffee and, sip it quickly and come back here, just so that we can have a good final debate and on time, because I know you're all going to start leaving after that. So see you in 15 minutes.